Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and I am back with a spooky Halloween card, and I'm playing with my Brusho paints again. Here I'm using some penny black peaceful moments and spooky fun, and there's where all these Halloween elements are going to come in. I use a piece of cold pressed watercolor paper, some glitter paper by Lawn Fawn, this is their autumn collection, and a piece of Summer Sunrise cardstock, which is this orangey yellow paper cardstock paper. I'm going to start out with the watercolor panel. You can use hot press or cold press. My little cruddy brush that I use for this masking fluid, here I have Winsor Newton and Nouveau and Pebeo. I'm going to use the Pebeo, but any masking fluid would work. Masking paper will not. I have in my dampen dish, I have a little bit of liquid detergent, like you use at the sink for washing dishes, and I've massaged it into my bristles. I don't use a good brush for this. But when you do massage the detergent into it, it will mean that when you go to wash it out, that the fluid, the masking fluid, won't stick to it and you can wash it out cleanly. And I start out small with a circle and then I get bigger, bigger, bigger. That's the best way I know to keep it fairly round. I'm creating a moon here. And I have a nice layer of masking fluid. And now that I've got it the size I want it, I'm going to dry it. Now I think it's better to have it dry naturally. On this one, I think I got it a little hot, and you'll see what happens a little bit later. But it is better to have it dry naturally, but I was in a hurry as usual. Now I've got a brush, and I am just brushing on a really nice layer of clean, clear water. And I just want to put a pretty nice layer there. These are Brusho watercolors, are a dry crystal watercolor. I love it for this because they have very, very intense colors, and that's what I'm looking for, something that is really bright. And I started out with yellow and now orange. They're literally called yellow and orange, and I'm putting the orange right on top. Now I could just sprinkle these crystals on and let them activate with the water, but I am using a brush to spread them out a little bit. If you left them alone, then you'll get these little tiny pinpoint bursts of color, and I think that's wonderful too, but I wanted to spread it out a little bit. Here I'm using dark brown, just creating this bottom, and I'm tapping my brush a little bit. And now I'm going to add a little bit more water to the top and add purple. And these are the colors in the Brusho set, very simple color names. And I'm just going to add the purple primarily on the left side. Going to move it around. If it gets onto if the paint or water gets onto your work surface, do mop it up periodically. I think you'll find you'll have better results and it won't be so messy. And then I'm adding more of the purple. Now a little down below, and adding some orange, more orange there. It is Halloween after all, and I want it very dramatic. Adding some yellow and that orange. I think put a little bit more of the brown down at the bottom because the brown isn't as strong as it was, and neither is the yellow. So here is the yellow, and now a little bit more yellow because I want it to be quite bright there. And I'm going to let some of these little bits, just let them get those pinpoint bits activate a little bit more, and you'll see that in that yellow. And now with the brown, I'm brushing on some more brown and splattering it so I can create a real dramatic background. The colors are really luscious. You might think it's kind of a hot mess, but I'm loving it because I know that it will all pull together for my spooky scene. I added more purple there. Now I'm using Algerian crimson. You could use scarlet if you'd like, but I want to add a little bit of this red. This is a red with a little pinkish hue to it. And I'm going around the moon with that. Now I'm going to dry my panel. I think I have it pretty much the way I like it. And you can see that I hold this up and I'm drying it on the back side and the front, and I hold it up a little bit off of the surface, my work surface, so that it won't warp so much. If I leave it completely flat, then it'll have a tendency, the hot air, to get trapped underneath and warp more. And I've got that, I think, pretty dry. Now I'm going to take off this masking fluid. I'm using a rubber eraser here. You can, like I say, you can check out all of the supplies by clicking the link down below. And I'm really having to work to get this off. And I think that's because I think I just kind of dried it too hard there, kind of cooked it onto there, and not all of it came off in one spot, but luckily this is a moon and I think it'll work out actually quite nicely that I have that little bit of that little spot in there. I put some yellow on the moon and a little bit more Algerian crimson around the edges, just because I really want this kind of glowy moon. And you don't have to be very precise. Watercolors aren't usually a real precise thing. I put a little bit more of that Algerian crimson around. And I think I'm going to take some yellow and add more yellow to the center here. Sprinkle it right on top and let that kind of activate. Now that I dried it, made sure it was really dry. I'm sorry I skipped that step. I don't know how I did that. But it was really dry, and you want it to be super dry. Put it in my stamp positioner. Now I'm taking the stamp and placing it right on the side, making sure that those trees are really, really straight, because you don't want this to look crooked. And I'm using VersaFine Onyx ink, which is a waterproof ink. It's very crisp, and it goes on very nicely. I'm going to stamp it, I think, a few times just to get a good impression. Now I've taken Happy Hauntings, and this is my sentiment, and I've placed it in there, and I'm just stamping it. I'm only using one stamping ink like this, just the VersaFine Black Onyx. It's a great waterproof ink. You could use StazOn or something like that. Now I'm taking this grouping of bats, which I think are fabulous. And I'm just going to place it right there, up there by the moon. And stamp those on there. And I'm going to make sure I'm real tidy with this ink, because I don't want it to get in places that I don't want it to be. We've worked to get this panel just the way we want it. We don't want to have some little bits of black ink where they shouldn't be. Now I've taken that out and I'm going to dry this. This has a very long open time, so you want to dry that really, really well before you go and handle it. But I have made a card base out of that Summer Sunrise. Now I have some Connect glue, liquid glue by Gina K. I'm putting on this panel of glitter paper, which is a little bit smaller, so I have an orange little edge there. And then this is a little bit smaller again, and adding the liquid glue. You want to do that to these watercolor panels so that they stick, especially going on to glitter paper. I find the glue works a lot better than my usual double stick tape. And I'm just going to stick that down, and we're nearly done with this. In fact, you could stop here if you wanted to, but I'm going to add a little bit of sparkle, and I'm using the Moonstone glitter paste. And this is just a iridescent glitter paste with no other color to it. I'm using a palette knife for the big H there, but now I'm going to take a toothpick and I'm going to add some to the bats. You don't have to be real precise for it. I just want it to add just this little bit of sparkle. I don't know how much you're picking up on the camera. The camera's not really good at picking up glitter, but in real life, it really adds a nice little sparkly dimension and works super well with the glitter paper. So I'm just adding it to the tops of these letters. Just the tops. I don't need to go down them at all. It just is enough to add a little bit of a highlight. And a toothpick works quite well. And there we have it. And I am just in love with this wonderful background that has all this drama and these luscious colors. One of the reasons why I love making Halloween cards is because I can use dramatic colors. Just love it. And so here is a close-up to really let you see that detail. And then now just to review what I used the Peaceful Moments and the Spooky Fun by Penny Black and the Brusho Crystal watercolor paints, but you can use any watercolors you have. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you do, please give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, we'd love it if you would subscribe. And remember, there's a complete supply list down below. You can just click on the link and it'll take you right there, and there'll be other close-ups and oodles of inspiration. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.